How do you develop empathy in a situation when a child has not been so empathic to a friend? And I'm going to give you an example from my own life as a parent of two boys who are now teenagers. One's a teenager, one's a young adult. But one's named Griffin and the other one's Gray. When Griffin was 3.5 years old, I went to pick him up at his childcare, his preschool. And one of the teachers took me aside and said to me, Kim, there's been a bit of an incident today with Griffin. And I, of course, was worried what happened. And the teacher said to me, well, Griffin and his friend were playing with some blocks. And Griffin wanted the blocks his friend had. And his friend wouldn't give them to him. So Griffin reached out and scratched his friend's face. So as a parent, and actually as a researcher of empathy, I said, I first thought, oh my goodness, my child has no empathy. And I second thought that I really should keep up on cutting his nails short because you know how fast they grow and you really have to keep on clipping those nails. So anyways, I told the teacher, well, should I talk to him at home? What should I do? And she said, oh, no, we've handled it. Don't worry. And I said, what did you do? Well, what she told me was fascinating and taught me so much about how to develop empathy in children. She said, first we went to his friend, Griffin's friend, and said, are you okay? And made sure he was okay. And then they turned to Griffin and said, let's use this as a way in which to promote empathy. So they first asked Griffin, which we know is a root of empathy, is being able to identify and label emotions. They asked Griffin, how is your friend feeling? Identifying the emotion, sad. Why is your friend feeling that way? He said, because I scratched his face. So they used what we know for empathy is you need to identify and label emotions. So they did that. Then what they did next was so fascinating. They asked Griffin and talked to his friend, Griffin, what can you do to help your friend feel better? There was some discussion among the boys, figuring out what Griffin could do. Came up with the idea of a cold washcloth on his friend's face where the scratch was. So the teacher took Griffin over to the sink. They got a fluffy washcloth from the shelf, ran it under the water till it was the right degree of cold, wrung it out, and took Griffin back with his friend, put two little chairs facing one another with Griffin leaning over with the cold washcloth on his friend's face until his friend said he was feeling better, and then Griffin and his friend went off and played together. Now think of that instance about teaching empathy. We often think children need to be punished. Griffin might have gotten a timeout. His friend could have gotten all the blocks. But they used that opportunity to think about not only how your friend was feeling, so emotion identification, why he was feeling that way, but how he could help him feel better. And think about the way that we would develop those skills of empathy and compassion. So seeing the pain and suffering of his friend, but moving to action and finding a way to help remedy that situation. Really, if you think about how to develop empathy in children, it's in those certain situations in which we can help find ways that children could learn empathy and compassion at the same time.